AITA for refusing to move back and even after my mom cried. My name is Victoria, and I'm 23 years old. I have a 2-year-old daughter named Kylie. I'm finishing my nursing degree while working part-time at a small clinic downtown. It's exhausting, but every day I tell myself it's temporary, that one day it'll all be worth it. When I first found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor with the test in my hand, shaking so hard I almost dropped it. My boyfriend, Noah, tried to be calm, but I could see the panic in his eyes too. We were both barely holding our lives together. Me with school, him juggling 2 jobs. When I told my mom, Amira, she didn't hesitate. She said, "You'll be fine, honey. I'll help you. Move in here. You shouldn't be doing this alone." I believed her. At the time, she'd just gone through a messy divorce and said having us there would fill the house again. I thought maybe this was the beginning of something good, a chance for us to be close again, to heal old wounds. At first, things were okay. I paid her $200 a month for bills, which was fine while I was still working at the cafe. She'd coo over my belly and tell me how excited she was to be a grandmother. She even came to one of my ultrasounds and cried when she heard the heartbeat. But after Kylie was born, everything changed. When I had to quit my job to keep up with school and clinical rotations, Amira started acting like I was freeloading. She'd make comments like, "You're lucky I'm not charging you full rent," or "You're home all day. The least you can do is help more." She'd ask me to babysit my 9-year-old brother Rain whenever she went out. Sometimes that meant having him with me while I was trying to study with Kylie crying in the background. If I said I was too tired, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You're young. You'll survive." The nights were the worst. Kylie would wake up crying, and I'd rock her in the living room so I wouldn't wake anyone. Sometimes, I'd catch Amira standing at the top of the stairs, glaring down at me, whispering, "You have to get her under control." It became clear that the help she promised was never really there. I did the laundry, the dishes, the cooking, and most of the cleaning. She'd barely touch Kylie unless people were around. Then suddenly she'd be the perfect grandma, holding her and saying, "She's my whole world." I started spending more time at my Grandma Eden's house. Grandma had always been quiet but kind, the kind of person who made you tea without asking and listened without judgment. She watched Kylie while I studied, and she never made me feel like a burden. When Amira found out, she lost it. She accused me of running away and said Grandma was turning me against her. I tried explaining that I just needed help, that I wasn't choosing sides, but she wouldn't hear it. One night, we had our biggest fight. I'd just come back from the clinic after a 12-hour shift. Kylie had been fussy all day, and Rain was screaming about not wanting to do his homework. Amira was pacing around, complaining about bills and saying she was tired of carrying everyone. Then she looked straight at me and said, "I should have never offered to help you. You've done nothing but drain me dry." I froze. Before I could respond, she added, "You always make everything about that baby. What about the rest of us?" That broke me. I didn't yell or cry. I just walked upstairs, packed our things quietly, and drove to Grandma's. I didn't even leave a note that time, just a text that said, "I need space." It's been 8 months since that night. She's called and texted more times than I can count. Sometimes she's apologetic. "I miss you, sweetheart. Please come home." Other times, she's cruel. "You're tearing this family apart." Once she even sent a picture of Rain with the caption, "He misses you. He asks why you don't love your family anymore." That one almost broke me too. I still haven't gone back. Every time I consider it, I remember the heaviness in that house, how small I felt, how hard I tried to be enough. Meanwhile, Grandma Eden has been a blessing. She doesn't ask for money or favors. She just helps, in that quiet way she always has. Sometimes we'll sit on the porch after Kylie goes to sleep, and she'll say, "He's cost something, sweetheart, but it's always worth the price." Still, part of me aches for my mom. I see families out together, mothers and daughters laughing, and I wonder why we can't have that. I even tried calling her once, but she didn't answer. A few hours later, she posted a Facebook status that said, "Some people only call when they need something." It's like she wants me to feel guilty for choosing peace. Even Noah doesn't get it. He says, "She's your mom, Vic. She's trying." But he doesn't know what it's like to spend your whole life being compared to Millie, my younger sister, the golden child who could do no wrong. When I graduated high school, Mom didn't even show up to the ceremony. She said she had to take Rain to soccer practice. But she threw Millie a huge party for her graduation, complete with balloons, food, and a new laptop. When I told her it hurt me, she said, "You're too sensitive. It's not always about you." That phrase has haunted me for years. Now she's telling everyone in the family that I've chosen Grandma over her. Aunt Layla even messaged me last week saying, "You only get one mom. Vic, don't push her her away forever. I don't know what to say to that, because I did try. I tried for years. But how many chances can you give someone who never really sees you? Sometimes I think about what will happen when Kylie's older. Will she ask why we don't visit her grandma much? Will she blame me for keeping that distance? I hope not. I'm not doing this out of anger, just self-preservation. I want Kylie to grow up in a home where love doesn't come with strings attached. The last time Mom called, I finally picked up. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity, maybe guilt. She started crying right away. She said Rain was struggling, that she was lonely, that she wanted her family back. Then she asked, "Can't you just come home for a while?" For me, her voice cracked on that last part, and for a moment, I almost said yes. But then I heard Kylie in the background, laughing with Grandma. Her laugh was light, free, the kind of sound I never heard in my mother's house. I realized then that if I went back, nothing would change. The promises, the guilt, the same old cycle. So I said softly, "Mom, I love you, but I can't come back right now." She went quiet. Then she said, "You'll regret this someday." That's how the call ended. It's been 4 months of silence, 4 months of ignoring calls, avoiding messages, and trying to convince myself that peace sometimes means distance. But peace, I've learned, isn't quiet. It's heavy. It sits on your chest when you're trying to sleep, whispering all the what-ifs you pretend not to hear. Then, 2 months ago, Mom texted me, "Hey, sweetheart, Rain's been having trouble at school. Can you come over for dinner so we can talk?" At first, I thought about ignoring it, but something about her tone, softer, less defensive, made me hesitate. Grandma said, "You can go if you want, but don't go expecting an apology." She was right. When I pulled up to the house, I sat in the car for 10 minutes, just breathing. The porch light was on, same as always, but it didn't feel like home. It felt like a memory, one that hurt to touch. When Mom opened the door, she hugged me immediately, too tightly. I froze for a second before hugging her back. "I'm so glad you came, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice trembling like she was holding back tears. For a moment, I wanted to believe things could be different. Dinner was calm, almost eerily so. She laughed with Rain, played peekaboo with Kylie, and even complimented my hair. "You look so grown up," she said, almost like she was proud. But halfway through dinner, when the laughter had faded and the plates were half empty, she said it. "You know, I've been thinking, maybe you could move back in for a while. Rain needs stability, and you'd save money. It just makes sense." I put my fork down. My stomach turned. "Mom," I said carefully, "I can't. I'm in the middle of finals. Kylie has her routine, and Grandma's been helping so much. Moving back now would." She cut me off. Her smile vanished. "So Grandma's more important than me now?" The air in the room changed. "It's not like that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just can't go through what we did before." Her tone sharpened. "What we did before? You mean when I let you stay here? When I raised your child so you could run around pretending to be a nurse?" "Mom, no. You don't get to talk down to me. Victoria, I sacrificed everything for you. And this is how you repay me? By choosing that old woman over your own mother." I felt my pulse in my throat. Kylie whimpered, sensing the tension. Rain was standing in the hallway, frozen, clutching his toy car. "Don't do this in front of them," I whispered. She slammed her hand against the table. "You're ungrateful. You've always been ungrateful. I should have let you figure it out on your own when you got pregnant." The words hit me like a slap. I stood up, grabbed Kylie, and said quietly, "I'm leaving." Rain whispered, "Don't go." But Mom didn't stop me. She just stood there, arms crossed, jaw tight, like she was daring me to walk out. And I did. That night, she posted a long Facebook rant about children forgetting who raised them and mothers who give everything only to be left behind. I didn't read all of it, but relatives did, and they started calling. Aunt Layla, Uncle Samir, even Millie, who texted, "Why are you doing this to Mom? She's heartbroken." I didn't answer. I couldn't explain to people who only saw the version of her she wanted them to see. A week later, she called again. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted, "You'll understand one day when Kylie does this to you." That one hurt more than I expected. I showed Grandma the message. She read it quietly, then said, "People who can't face their own mistakes like to make mirrors out of others. Don't pick up what she's projecting." Still, that night, I cried. Not because I felt guilty, but because I realized I'd been waiting for her to be someone she might never become. A few days later, Millie called me out of the blue. Her voice was shaking. "Mom's been crying all week," she said. "She barely eats. She keeps saying you hate her." "I don't hate her," I said softly. "I just can't live like that anymore." Millie sighed. "She says Grandma's manipulating you." I laughed bitterly. If peace and kindness are manipulation, then maybe I deserve to be manipulated. After that, Millie stopped replying. I guess taking a side was easier than standing in the middle. Last night, after weeks of silence, I finally texted Mom back. My hands were shaking, but I knew I had to say something for myself. "I love you, but I can't come back. I need peace for myself and for Kylie. I hope one day we can talk without hurting each other." She read it almost immediately. The red notification sat there for hours. No reply ever came. Later that night, I scrolled through social media and saw she'd changed her profile picture. It was one of her and Rain smiling at the park with the caption, "My real family." I won't lie, that one broke me. The end. Victoria, you're definitely not the AITA. You just hit that point where peace started feeling more important than proving a point. You didn't cut your mom off to be cold. You just stopped trying to explain yourself to someone who wasn't really listening. That's not cruel. That's protecting your energy. Your mom's not evil. She's just stuck in her own loop. She wants to feel needed, but she doesn't realize that her way of helping sometimes feels like control. It's hard for parents to accept when you don't depend on them the same way anymore. It makes them question their role. But that's not your problem to fix. You've got a kid, school, and your own peace to look after. And your grandma? She's the real MVP. The kind of quiet support that doesn't make a show out of love. She just gets it. Sometimes all we need is one calm person to remind us we're not crazy for wanting calm. Honestly, you didn't do anything wrong. You set a boundary, and she took it personally. That's on her. Keep doing your thing, raising your daughter, keeping your space peaceful, and not letting guilt drag you back into chaos. So no, you're not the AITA. You're just someone who got tired of explaining peace to people who prefer noise. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments. AITA for refusing to help my family after hearing what they said about me? My name is Harvey. I'm 19, the youngest in a big family. I've got 4 older sisters, Raina, Danielle, Penny, and Avery, and 2 older brothers, Muhammad and Magnus. My parents, Victor and Sandra, are still together, and we all live in the same town. Because I'm the youngest, everyone always turns to me when they need something. If a car battery dies, I'm called. If someone's babysitter cancels, I'm suddenly the backup. I help carry boxes, mow lawns, fix phones, even run errands when no one else feels like it. I never really minded. I like being useful. It made me feel like I mattered. And honestly, I thought my family appreciated me. Then one afternoon, everything shifted. It started with a call from my Aunt Nora. She asked if I was okay after that argument with Muhammad. I told her there hadn't been any argument. She sounded confused. He said you're impossible to rely on, she told me. He said you always complain when people ask for help. I laughed at first. I'd literally spent the entire previous weekend fixing Muhammad's fence. But Aunt Nora kept talking. She said my parents had been saying similar things, that I was lazy, distracted, and always making excuses. I felt like I'd been punched. Later that night, I talked to my grandmother. She's the kind of woman who knows everything that goes on in the family, even when no one tells her. She sighed and said, "Sweetheart, I've heard things too. They complain about you a lot, but I never believed it." That's when she told me the worst part, that they talked about me while I was helping them. According to her, they'd make jokes like, "Let's hope Harvey doesn't mess this up again," or "He'll probably take all day." And apparently, they'd even said those things in front of my nieces and nephews. I sat there, staring at the wall, my chest tight. All the times I canceled plans to help them, the days I skipped out on hanging with friends, the hours I gave up studying, suddenly felt small, like they meant nothing. I didn't confront anyone at first. I wanted to believe Grandma was wrong. But then, 2 weeks later, I overheard something I wasn't supposed to. We were at a Sunday lunch. Everyone was in the kitchen cleaning up. I went to grab my jacket from the hallway, but paused when I heard Muhammad's voice. He said, "If Harvey says he'll do it, that means we'll be waiting a month." Danielle laughed. "You're right. He's nice, but he's useless." My parents didn't say anything to stop them. Something inside me broke. I stepped into the kitchen, and everything went silent. You could hear the clock ticking. I looked straight at them and said, "It's nice to know what you all really think of me." Mom frowned. "You shouldn't be listening in on conversations, Harvey. That's what you're upset about? That I heard you? Not that you said any of this." No one answered, so I kept going. I told them I was done fixing things, done babysitting, done dropping my life every time they snapped their fingers. I said if they thought I was unreliable, they could live without relying on me. Raina rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'm being honest." Then I left. I drove around for hours that night, the road blurring under the streetlights. I didn't even know where I was going. Every time I thought about what I heard, my chest tightened again. I replayed their voices over and over, wondering if maybe I'd somehow caused this. If maybe I really had been too slow or too distracted. When I finally stopped at a gas station to breathe, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Avery. "You shouldn't have walked out like that. Mom's upset." No apology, no explanation, just that. I didn't respond. By the time I got home, the house was quiet. I went straight to my room and closed the door. The next morning, no one said a word to me. Dad glanced at me over breakfast but didn't speak. Mom avoided my eyes. Magnus was scrolling through his phone, pretending I wasn't even there. For the next few days, it felt like I was invisible. They didn't ask for help, but they didn't acknowledge me either. It was almost worse, like I didn't even exist. Then, 3 days later, Penny texted, "Can you come by tomorrow? My washing machine's leaking again." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Ask Muhammad. I'm busy. Within minutes, Mom texted me. Why are you being petty? Penny really needs help. I put my phone down without answering. That night, Danielle called. I ignored it. Then she called again. When I finally answered, she didn't even say hello. She just said, "You're taking this too far. We were just joking that day." Joking? I said quietly. You call me useless. Oh, come on, she said. You know we didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? She didn't respond. The silence stretched, heavy and awkward. Then she said, "You've always been sensitive, Harvey." I hung up. The next morning, Mom cornered me in the kitchen. She looked tired, her arms crossed. "You're making everyone uncomfortable," she said. "You can't just refuse to talk to your family over one misunderstanding." One misunderstanding? I asked. "You all said those things." Grandma heard it. I heard it. "You didn't even defend me." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "We were just frustrated. You take things so personally. You should have come to us instead of eavesdropping." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. "You all insult me behind my back, and I'm the one who's wrong because I heard it?" She didn't answer. Instead, she said, "You owe your father an apology. He was hurt when you stormed out." I stared at her, disbelief flooding me. "You want me to apologize? For being hurt?" Her eyes softened for a moment, but then she turned away. "Just think about it." She walked off, leaving me standing there. After that, I packed a small bag and drove to Grandma's. She lived across town, in a small house that always smelled like vanilla candles and fresh bread. When she opened the door, she just hugged me and said, "I figured you'd come." For the next week, I stayed there. It felt peaceful. No demands, no guilt, just quiet. But that peace didn't last. One evening, my phone started lighting up with notifications, messages from the family group chat. At first, it was random chatter, but then the conversation turned to me. "Danielle, has anyone heard from Harvey?" "Raina, he's probably sulking at Grandma's." "Magnus, he'll come back when he needs something." "Penny, honestly, this is ridiculous. He's acting like we're villains." "Mom, enough. He just needs time to cool off." I watched the messages roll in, my hands shaking. They were still doing it, talking about me instead of to me. I typed out a reply, deleted it, and then finally wrote, "Stop talking about me like I'm not here." I saw the messages. "You all need to look at yourselves for once." Then I muted the chat. That night, Grandma came into the living room with 2 mugs of tea. She sat next to me and said, "I heard you arguing with your mother earlier." I nodded. "I just don't get it. Why is it so hard for them to admit they hurt me?" She smiled sadly. "Because admitting that means they'd have to change. And people like to stay where they're comfortable, even if it means losing someone they love." Her words hit me harder than I expected. Over the next few weeks, I tried to move on. I focused on school, my part-time job, and a few close friends who didn't treat me like a tool. But there was still this weight inside me, a mix of sadness and anger that wouldn't quite go away. One night, I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Family birthdays, barbecues, vacations. In every picture, I was smiling, usually holding something or fixing something, always in the background. It hit me then. I'd been part of the family, but never really seen. That realization hurt more than anything they'd said. A few days later, I ran into Raina at the grocery store. She froze when she saw me, then tried to smile. "Hey, Harvey," she said, her voice tight. "It's been a while." I nodded. "Yeah." She hesitated, glancing at the basket in my hand. "You don't have to stay mad, you know. We didn't mean to make you feel bad." "You didn't mean it," I repeated quietly. "But you did." Her smile faltered. "We just joke around a lot. You know how this family is." "Yeah," I said. "I know exactly how this family is." I walked away. It's been 3 months since I walked out of that kitchen, since I stopped pretending that everything was fine. I wasn't planning to update, but so much has happened that I feel like I need to get it out. A few weeks after that argument, Raina called me. Her voice sounded strained, tense, like she'd been holding her breath all day. Her car had broken down on the way home from work, and she didn't know who else to call. I hesitated, the old instinct to help fighting against the new boundaries I'd been trying to build. I eventually agreed. I thought maybe this could be a start, a small bridge in the rubble. When I got there, she was standing outside, arms crossed, chewing on her bottom lip. She tried to smile when she saw me. "Thanks," she said quietly. "I know things have been weird." I nodded, not saying much. The air between us was thick, heavy, like every past argument had condensed into a tangible weight. We got her car running. It took some time, and I noticed her fidgeting, glancing at her phone every few seconds. She was clearly nervous, maybe afraid I'd snap at her for needing help. For a brief moment, I thought maybe things could go back to some semblance of normal. But that hope didn't last. 2 days later, I found out she'd sent a message in the family group chat about me. Harvey barely knew what he was doing. Almost made everything worse. My stomach sank. The sting wasn't just in the words, it was in the betrayal. After all I'd done, the family was still undermining me, still seeing me as incompetent behind my back. That was the last straw. I muted the group chat and stopped answering calls. I ignored Dad's texts about family unity, Mom's messages about keeping the peace, even Magnus and Muhammad's attempts to rope me into weekend chores. chores. I focused on school, my part-time job, and the few friends who actually treated me like a human being, not a servant. Then, last week, Grandma got sick. It wasn't life-threatening, but serious enough that she had to stay in the hospital for several days. And suddenly, like someone had flipped a switch, my siblings were texting me relentlessly, acting like nothing had ever happened. Can you drive Mom to the hospital? Can you pick up Rain from school? Can you grab groceries for Dad? I stared at my phone, feeling my chest tighten. Their requests weren't even subtle. I knew I could do these things, but the old anger bubbled up again. I didn't reply right away. Then Mom called. Her voice was different, softer, almost pleading. "Harvey," she said, "I know things have been rough, but we need you. Grandma, she needs you." For a moment, I almost gave in. Part of me wanted to run back, to prove that I still cared, that I was still the Harvey who did everything for them. But then I remembered the constant criticism, the whispered complaints, the way they never defended me when others judged me. I remembered Raina's group chat message. I remembered the words from Danielle, Magnus, and Penny, all spoken behind my back. So I told her the truth. "I love you all," I said, my voice firm, shaking slightly. "But I can't be the person who fixes everything for people who don't see me as more than a convenience. I'll visit Grandma, but that's it." There was silence on the line. I could hear her inhale sharply. Then she whispered, almost like she didn't want anyone else to hear, "I didn't realize how much we took you for granted." It sounded sincere, but I didn't answer. I didn't know if I could. The next morning, I went to see Grandma at the hospital. She smiled weakly from her bed, eyes crinkling despite the illness. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel lighter," I told her. I finally stopped trying to prove myself. She patted my hand gently. "Good. People will either see your worth or lose the right to it." I stayed by her side until she was discharged, helping her slowly walk from the hospital to the car. The end. "Harvey, you're not the Aita, not even close. You just got tired of being everyone's backup plan. It's like you've been carrying a whole toolbox for a family that never learned how to say thank you. You didn't explode, you didn't insult anyone, you just finally said no, and that's apparently a crime in your household. But honestly, good for you. What happened here isn't about laziness or sensitivity. It's about people who got so used to your reliability that they forgot it was a choice, not an obligation. You've been the guy keeping the ship from sinking, and they've been cracking jokes from the deck. The moment you stop bailing water, they called you selfish, when really, you just wanted to stop drowning for once. The whole "we were joking" excuse? Classic. That's the family version of pretending an insult is a punchline. They weren't joking, they were just uncomfortable with getting caught being mean. It's easier for them to call you dramatic than to admit they crossed a line. But that's not on you to fix. My suggestion, keep doing exactly what you're doing. Help because you want to, not because guilt hands you a to-do list. Let them sit with the quiet for a while. It's amazing how fast people notice your value when you stop making their lives easier. And credit where it's due, your grandma's a legend. She gets it without you having to explain it. That peace you feel at her house, that's what respect feels like. So no, Harvey, you're not the Aita. You're just the guy who finally realized that being kind doesn't mean being used. And if your family thinks standing up for yourself is being dramatic, let them. You've earned the right to be the calm one in a house full of noise. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for blocking my ex after he cheated with his coworker. Click here to watch it now.